This is Shay from Parents Guide to the World, and we have a few things that I want to go over today. Now, if you guys don't know my struggle, things are a little tough for me, so please bear with me. If you don't know my struggle about surviving a brain tumor, it's on the page, so I won't get into it anymore. Let's go ahead and get going. Oh, all right. Well, I'm going off, reminding me to start the show. All right, let's do a soft start on that since, we'll probably post this later. Alarm's just going off and phone making noise, new to this streaming stuff again. So we'll turn that off. All right, anyway, thank you for watching today. My name is Shay. You guys are watching Parents Guide to the World. If you don't know my struggles, just to re-mention it, we are live today, and I'm doing live because I honestly have a lot of trouble using the computers now, and really a lot of trouble editing for sure. So anyway, today we want to go into a few different topics. Today, what I want to do is welcome you guys. We do have our new website we're working on here. It's not quite done yet, but this is just something that my wife has started to work on with me. This is one of those ones where I was running on WordPress, the website, and it's just been too hard for me to really keep that going. It's a lot to maintain. And so what we've been doing is we've been moving everything over to Squarespace. That way, and not sponsored or anything like that. It's what I chose because we tried a couple and that was the one that was most comfortable for everyone. It seems like one of the easier ones to use. And we can add the shop and everything. Now, if we ever decide to move later, I still backed up our WordPress site, and we're still working on that. So we've got the new site at pgttw.com. That's Parents Guide to the World.com is what it stands for. We also have the website parentsguidetotheworld.com as well. So bear with me today. Now, what we want to talk about today is we have a few different things we want to get into. So today we're going to discuss Marvel Rivals and what is it, whether it's safe for your kids, and some guides on how to make that safer for your kids. We're also going to get into some tips related but separate to Marvel Rivals about safer gaming experiences, digital boundaries, and exploring some different, different effective parenting techniques to go ahead and help out with your children's digital presence and some of the good and bad that comes with that. Now, we're also going to have a new section that I'm going to go ahead and call Cringe Corner. We'll see what that is in a minute or in a little bit here. Now, before we get started, I want to make sure that if you guys, aren't warmed up here, I want to go ahead and warm up your brains just a little bit, something tiny. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is give you guys a trivia question. We're going to go ahead and start this trivia early in the episodes like this, and then later in the episode, I will go ahead and give you the answer. If you think you know, please comment below. Try not to cheat. I appreciate it. And let's just make this fun for everyone in the community. Go ahead and put your guesses in there before you know, and I'll tell you probably about halfway through the show. All right, so here's our first trivia question. Here's our first trivia question. First one of any podcast. Like I said, we'll do one per podcast here. All right, and by the way, see, I keep going back. Where this is a newer podcast, I'm going to do the full podcast live. I will re-release it pretty much unedited, and then when we're able to, as I'm able to get more help from my wife and everything, what I will do then is I will go ahead and re-upload the segments, like the Marvel Rival ones. I wish I could do more editing on them, but I'm fairly limited on stuff like that right now. So you have to bear with me, but this is the best we can do, and hopefully I'll be able to pump out more content by doing it this way. All right. So anyway, sorry again. All right. So today's trivia question. This will be the first trivia question of any of our podcasts. And like I said, we're going to continue to do these probably once a week with these trivia questions. So today's trivia question is, what common household object was originally designed as a piece of wallpaper? Think about it. Like I said, put it in the comments. Let me know what you think, and let you know halfway through the episode here. All right. Now, the first thing we want to get into is Marvel Rivals. So is Marvel Rivals safe for your kids? what is Marvel Rivals, and how can you make Marvel Rivals safer, and is it something you might want to play yourself? Let's get into it. So, what we're looking at here with Marvel Rivals, and I probably should have switched the camera back to me for that. But what we're looking at here is with Marvel Rivals, we are looking at a game that is a lot like, if you have been playing games recently, probably like an Overwatch. But if you're an old dad like me, I would say it's a lot more like Team Fortress 2. So the idea is that you play a few different classes, and all of them have different kinds of abilities and everything. So what you uh, what you do is you jump into the game, and I apologize if it runs slow. I'm literally streaming on a not amazing laptop, and we're streaming at the same time we're running the game, so it's not going to run amazing, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and make do. But it is a pretty cool game. It's two different teams, and they have a bunch of different game modes. They also will go ahead and give you like just specialty game modes, and they have a ton of different costumes, and it's actually a really fun game. Um, and it's essentially free, but free doesn't always mean free, as you guys have started to learn. And so we'll get into some of the cost of it as well. Now, let's just start out by kind of going over the game a little bit more. So you've got your menu up top here, right? So once you're logged in, you've got all kinds of different information. You got your settings and all of this, right? So when you're coming into the game, you're going to go through that stuff and set that up. Now, with your kids, the company does a pretty good job of trying to ban people that are causing too much trouble, but that's actually going to be one of the things you'll have to consider is when you get into one of these games, they can be a lot of fun, and depending on whether this is something that you're okay with your kids playing or not, then you know you have to also then consider the social aspect of it. Okay. So let's go ahead and kind of keep that in mind as we're looking through this. So like I said, we have a lot of different game modes. So if we were to jump in here, you've got your regular quick matches. Now that's what I would say most of the time a lot of people should play. And if you're going to let your kids play, I would recommend they maybe stick to quick matches in the beginning, or practice versus AI. Practice versus AI is what I'll show you today, because I don't want to mess up some actual people's game. So you are playing 6-on-6, right? So this is one of the things about this game is if you go ahead and you log in and you're playing, you can't just like rage quit in the middle of the game. They will probably ban you, and not permanently ban you, but ban you for like a temporary time, for basically quitting on your team. So you are relying on the other people on your team, and they're relying on you. And sometimes you're going to get a match where somebody will just steamroll you, and other times you'll do pretty well. So there are some ups and downs in the game. It is a competitive multiplayer game, right? The single player aspect of it is almost not there. Like the only thing you really do single player is practice and stuff like that. Even the practice versus AI is still a team of people. So I just want to make sure I make that clear. You can do some custom games, I suppose, and there are a bunch of different ones on there that you can join and stuff. I haven't really played with as many of those. What I have done, and it is very limited because I don't have a lot that I can use the computer for these days, for more than like an hour at a time. But I tend to play quick matches. When I was messing with a new character, I tried to go to the practice. And then you got like these other ones, Conquest, Arcade, Doom Match, custom game, competitive. So lots of different game modes there. And then you get the specialty game modes, right? So sometimes they'll be over here. This one is not an actual game mode. This is more like a board game, where as you play other games, you get rewards. And so essentially you earn different fake currencies. And this one here, for instance, opens up stuff on that game mode there, right? So if you're looking at something like that, eventually you can go ahead and get a costume. So different game modes there. They've had a couple different ones. That one, like I said, is kind of a board game one, but they've had ones where it was 3-on-3 playing like a soccer type match. Almost reminds me of Rocket League or something. But in general, and there's one with like Jeff the Shark where you all play as Jeff the Shark. There's one where everyone picks a character and everyone plays as the same character. So there's a lot of these kind of goofy ones that a lot of time they'll reward you with something special, like a character or spray or something along those lines. Okay, so um, now as far as all the characters go, you've got a ton of heroes, and I think this is one of the big appeals to people. So some of these characters are going to be vanguards, which is essentially a tank. So you've got like tank type characters. Um, then you've got the damage dealers, which let's see who's a damage dealer here. For instance, Black Widow or Black Panther here. They're going to be one of the damage dealers, right? So I'm having a quick brain blank here as to what they're called for some reason. Um, my brain is just a little slow, but we'll look at it here in a minute. And then we have, I think, vanguards, and then we have the strategists. So like you got healers, they tend to be the strategists, right? Okay. And then essentially what we're looking at after that is you pick your team. In general, there's not like a meta, but in general, you're going to have a tank, a healer, a couple DPS or damage dealers. And then sometimes it's good to have two tanks or two DPS or I mean, two healers. It does depend a little bit on your stuff. And then once you get all these heroes, you jump into a game and then you can obviously play. And then the game is free, but they do charge you for skins, which, you don't have to play. You don't have to buy skins, stuff like that. But then the skins, if your kids do get into it, the skins are different ones that go from pretty cool to borderline inappropriate for younger kids. Now that's where I wanted to get into next, and that's why I'm kind of transitioning from skins. So, like I said, this game is, I think, fairly decent for normal kids. If you let your kids play, I mean, for older kids, not just normal kids. If you let your kids play something like Grand Theft Auto or Call of Duty, then I don't think you're gonna have a problem having them play this. Okay. Now, depending on what's going on, I don't think the game is that harmful or violent because it's animated violence. So if you're okay with that, younger kids maybe shouldn't be playing it. But for the older kids, I think that part's already okay. I think the most dangerous part of this game is probably going to be the social aspects, the chat, the voice chat, stuff like that. So now with the costumes, though, there is some debate that some of them are maybe slightly more graphic than you would think. But then again, I grew up reading comics, and a lot of them look very much like comics to me. So they do have different costumes, though. So there's one for Storm. There's President Loki. I didn't even see this one before. That's actually pretty funny. And then they have sprays and skins and all this different stuff. So yeah, tons of different skins out here, different costumes, marriage ones for them. Now, like I said, there are some that they've said are people who kind of said are borderline inappropriate. So I'm going to go ahead and show you this one, and you can make your own decisions. I am okay with it, but I can completely understand where people are coming from. This is like one of those ones that, this could be something that maybe is misunderstood by a younger kid. So I think it's always important to at least talk about these games with kids if you're worried about this kind of stuff. But so here's the one from Invisible Woman, and this is a real comic character, but the skin is well done, but also a little risky, right? Like that's definitely starting to push it. But that's probably the one that's the absolute worst. There are some other ones that can be a little iffy. All right, so let's talk about how to make the game safer for your kids, okay? Now that we've kind of gone over a lot of what the game is. So what we're going to do is to make Marvel Rivals safer for your kids. What we're going to do is we're going to go into the settings first, okay? So to get there, you can either hit escape and then settings, or there's a little gear up in the top right-hand corner. Hit that, and then you're going to go ahead and go to settings, okay? Now you have a lot of different settings in here, and in the first one, it's all graphic stuff, audio stuff. Now the audio is actually the first place to start, because okay, so let me get back to the audio. So if you think that the social aspect of the gaming part is the most dangerous, which honestly I may, you have to decide whether you're going to let your kids do chat or voice chat or no chat, right? Now, because this is a competitive game, chatting both in voice and and over typing are kind of important, right? There are other ways to communicate. You can communicate with like indicators, saying attack here, enemy coming, stuff like that. But in general, the communication can be important. So this is where I kind of say you need to make a decision as a parent, right? If you're okay with your kid just playing versus AI and having no chat on, either physical or voice, that's going to be fine. They're going to have a lot of fun. They don't have to buy skins. That's all free. No problem. If they want to play quick match, they can play. They might get a few people that are a little upset with them and they may lose more games because they may not have that strategy. But that's okay as well. Now, what I personally would recommend would probably be to leave the typing chat on and maybe turn off voice chat if you're concerned. The reason for that is that the game does do a lot to try to protect things. So there are a lot of protect kids and protect everyone out there. Now, they don't have an official rating yet. We're still waiting for that. But, I'd say if your kid is mature and over, gosh, like 13, you're probably okay. I think the official rating very well might come out as a 13. I doubt it's going to make a 16 or 17 or whatever they call it, but I don't 100% know. But I'd say in general, like I said, if you let your kid play Call of Duty, GTA, anything like that, this is definitely way safer than any of those. It's not full of profanity, anything like that. But in the voice chat, people might swear. People are kind of jerks, and there's a lot of toxic people. There's healers, and if somebody is either not doing a good job healing or somebody just rushing in there dying all the time, they a lot of the time will blame the healers, and it kind of becomes toxic. So in general, I recommend have your kids play with you, have your kids play with your family, have your kids play with their friends. Right now, remember, even their friends can sometimes be the toxic ones. So what I would say is you want to check in with them, stuff like that. So once you kind of have some guidelines as to where you're comfortable being a parent, then this is where the settings can start to come in. So to make Marvel Rivals safer, you need to look at these settings, okay? So first one you want to look at is you're going to go in here, like I said, to settings. You either hit escape to get into settings, or there's a little gear in the right hand corner to get into settings once again. And then once we're in here, we're going to go to audio up top. And then there is combat mix and audio and stuff. So there's a lot of different audio levels here. But what we're looking for in audio is the volume, right? So you got your master volume, sound, lobby, music, but right here, in-game voice volume. So if you want to, you can turn off voice audio. And what I recommend is just completely muting this out from here. Okay, you can then choose your playback and all that. But then down here, we're going to have your input device. So that's like if you're actually talking, your method of talking, your voice chat volume, your mic volume, and then right here is where you turn on and off voice chat. So like I said, this is a really important one if you're really worried about your kids and you want to make sure that this is one of the safest places for them. The other place you can do stuff here is if you go over to social. So social will let you do quite a few things because the stats in this game are actually pretty public, and you can decide to see other people's stats because it is a competitive game. And then also you can even watch people's replays. Most of your replays and all that stuff are saved, as well as just about anyone else's. So if you have the idea or want to go watch somebody else's tournament, you can bounce around between all the different characters and stuff. So it's kind of crazy. So what you're looking at here is like when you are setting it up for your kids, you probably want to go to the social panel, then go to career profile. And I personally would do friends only or private, right? So if you do this, then this way only your friends will be able to see your history. So you don't have people like, watching your kids and all that. Now, if they're a bit older, I wouldn't worry about this too much, right? Or if they're on a team of people, they could always do team only. But in general, just have them pick safe friends, and then friends only should be safe. Like I said, private is also an option. And then that's where you get into your chat stuff as well. So I do have it set up to allow all the messaging on here. Once again, though, if you wanted to be extra safe, you could even turn off all those chats so that essentially you'd be playing with no communication. You'd still see people's call to actions and stuff, but you wouldn't actually have any real communication with them, which I think is fine, but not competitive. You're just not going to be able to make it there. Maybe you'll be able to play a league or two, but really to get any higher than like the basic stuff on competitive, you really need to have communication. It's even hard to do solo. Like normally you want a team itself, so even when you get in there solo, communication can be pretty key. And I think that you'll find some games you'll win and stuff, but quick matches in general, you don't necessarily need communication. They're handy, makes you win more, but it's also maybe not worth the risk. Then you still have social, allow friends requests. If you want to completely cut them off, you can just basically not even allow friends requests. Spectating, you could basically put that to friends only as well, or no spectating. So if you didn't want people watching your character, invitations here, most of this stuff. Now streaming mode, this one's interesting. So streaming mode, what it does is you can go in here and this will let you basically hide names and stuff. So even though it seems like it's something that's just for streaming, it will actually hide the name if they're ever taking screen captures, or I believe it hides it when you go to watch the replay as well. All right, and then I think just to make sure, okay, yeah, I think that's everything in the actual settings here. Okay, so let me just double check my notes real quick to make sure I don't see any other settings I need to look at. Okay, so that's all the parental controls. So that's the stuff to make Marvel Rivals safer for your kids. Now let's get into one last thing here. I am going to attempt to play just a match against AI. I don't want to run a quick match, but just to give you guys an example of some of the other stuff that you're going to see here, and just to give you an example of what the game looks like. Now, as I'm pulling this up, I just want to check one more thing. Okay, so one other thing to oh, I just had a little brain blank there. Sorry about that. Okay, so most computers won't run this too poorly. It does run. I mean, it does need like a graphics card to run. You know, it's not going to run on nothing, but it's a pretty new game, and honestly, it runs pretty well on most systems. This laptop is definitely struggling, but I'm also live streaming to you, running the streaming software, and now running the game in the background here. Okay, so let's see. Okay. Oh, one other thing is, you know, coming to watch my videos, I certainly encourage it, right? We're going to try to make as many gaming safety videos as we can. But that being said, you also can go watch and search for other people playing on YouTube, YouTube Live, or even head over to Twitch and watch them. So whenever I run into a game that I'm not certain about, you know, obviously playing it is a very important thing. But what I'll do is I'll go over to one of those platforms and I'll watch other people play it. You get an idea of the community, get an idea of the gameplay, everything like that. Now, real quick to the game. So you got your vanguards up here, like I mentioned before. Then you got your then you got your duelists, and these are all the damage dealers. And then you got your strategists, right? So let's see. I have no idea, but there's tons of different characters. I have no idea who we should pick because I'm trying to just demo it for you guys. Let's just pick somebody like oh, it's definitely running slow on this computer. Okay. Let's just pick somebody like Thor for now. Okay. And like you saw, there's different costumes and everything. And so, oh yeah, it's definitely running very chunky today on this because we're streaming. But as you can see, you got some different characters. You got Groot, which he's got a costume on. This is just the entry thing that we're looking at here. That's a Penny over there with a costume on also. I'm a Thor with a costume on. There's a little Rocket with a costume on. And like I said, it's running really poorly, but this will give you an idea. So it isn't first person, but it's got that like perspective where you're over the shoulder here and everything. And then like all these different characters have different abilities, right? So you can see there's a thing right there. And oh my gosh, this is chaos. This is not running as well as I had hoped. But basically, this particular map is going to be a capture the point, the point here. So if you look up top, there is a timer, and once that timer runs out, now we can capture the point, right? So as you can see, the blue is slowly capturing, and once again, we're we're just humans versus AI. So this match is not like some specialty good match or anything here. But like Thor, for instance, he can basically throw his hammer, get up. Oh, can't get up there, but he's not exactly good against somebody in the air. But essentially, you can beat on people. You can throw your hammer. If you hit E, you get. Let's see. Basically, that's like your mode where you can get a little bit of empowerment here. And then what you'll see for all the characters is over in the right hand corner, and this is what I'm trying to get to here, is every character will have a bar that essentially powers them up, right, and gives them access to their ultimate. So as you can see, I'm only 50% full on my ultimate, and I'm going to get destroyed here. I got to see if I can get out. These might be AI, but they still will, kill you. They're not completely useless. Oop. Okay. And then essentially, see how it's filling up? It's at 70 now. Once that unlocks, then you get your special. Oop, I just died. I wasn't even paying attention. Oh, there was mines below me or something. But anyway, once you get that, you unlock it. You get your special ability. When you die, you can go through and you can observe different characters until it's your turn to revive here. Now Thor can throw his hammer, so he can't really fly, but he can kind of like glide like that. And then you can see his 3 hammers in the middle there. Now I want to get my ultimate here real quick before I try to switch characters. I know this is a little bit longer preview of it, and not the easiest thing to watch with it being so bad, but you'll get the idea. Much better to play when you're not streaming. Oh, there's Loki. So Loki can make clones of himself, as you see there, and then the clones can do damage and heal. So he's a support character, but he can be really good, but also really hard to play. Okay, so there's Cap. And then we got, Rocket. Okay, so we won that match without me getting ult. Or not that match, but that match. It's 2 out of 3 for this round, right? So if we win the next one, then we win the game. If we lose the next one, we have to go to the 3rd match. So that's kind of the way this works. Now, if I switch characters, I lose whatever I have built up on my ultimate, right? So over the next 40 seconds, we just sit here and wait. You got goofy things like sprays, so you can get stuff like that. And as far as the different characters and missions go, they'll give you missions every day, and then you can unlock some points that way, and then they'll give you monthly missions, and they've got like the ones to get special things, like that's how you get that Groot costume. And so a lot of different ways to unlock stuff. So let's just finish this match out real quick, and then we'll be finishing up with Marvel Rivals. I want to show you guys maybe another character so here real quick, and just an ultimate here. So everyone has a different ultimate. There it goes. So what Thor's is, I don't think it's like the best one, but it's all right. So what he does is he jumps up in the air, and he's essentially going to like unleash his lightning. And obviously with sound, this is way better. And with a computer that it's not running like a toaster on. But anyway, I'm frozen here. So if I go up, normally I wouldn't do it like this, but let's say go up, and then see that got rid of a lot of damage from that turret there with Punishers. This is running so slow. There we go. Okay. So there's Punisher down. And then see this Loki? That's just one of his clones, but you can still kill off his clones. And then let's see. Anyone else over here? Obviously, we're stomping them because they're all bots here. So even with it running really, really poorly on this computer. Okay. There's another Thor. That's his normal costume. And there's a good chance he might beat me here because I essentially can't play. All right, so there you go. Okay. And what happens in AI games, this is on AI Easy. So AI Easy is kind of a stomping. That's why I chose it for streaming, because it's definitely not nearly as much as competitive. But I mean, like, these AI guys will still kill you. They're not super good or anything. Oh, see, he's healing himself. He's just being annoying. So he made a clone because he was probably going to try to go from the clone. Sometimes you'll see strategies from these AI guys that are actually like kind of surprising. You'll be like, oh, I just never thought about that. Let's see here. I also have like the shield thing, but this isn't set up to have my shortcuts very well here. Oop, I missed him. So, you got Cap, you got everyone here. I need them to kill me so that I can change characters real quick. Let me just stand in front of this turret. Wow, AI is really bad here. Come on, please. Really? I'm getting healed too much. Okay, so yeah, when you have people who are that good at healing and stuff, and your team's that good, sometimes it's really hard for them to actually kill you. There are also health packs that I could have picked up. All right, so this way I get a chance to go look at another character though here real quick. So if I go to the character select screen, you got people like Magic and Hela and Moon Knight, a bunch of different people that are your vanguards up here. Hulk is actually pretty interesting because he starts out as Bruce Banner. Um, then you got like your healers. You got a Jeff the Shark and Mantis and Loki. A lot of these guys have skins on them, by the way. Um, I play this, and then my kids do too. Oh, we won. So anyway, that will go ahead and end out Marvel Rivals. Let me go ahead and close that real quick here. Okay. All right. So we've got Marvel Rivals ending here. Let me just close the app so that we can get some of our stuff back. Oh yeah, and it will give you MVP and stuff. Oh, let me show you one more thing, just because I told you guys I'd show you the whole game here. Okay, so you get your stuff. You can upvote people, right? You get victory dances and all this stuff. Okay, so and a lot of those are skinned. Like people are pretty crazy about the skins, and like I said, you can even unlock a lot of skins without paying for them, but a lot of them are paid for too. Now, when you go to, I'm on a brain blank here. When you go to Heroes, oh, that's the tournament. So they do have tournaments, which is interesting. They do have basically some straight up money you can win there, but you have to be invited to a lot of them. Okay, so you've got your different history leaderboards, all this, right? And as you can see, these are AI ones, right? But I can play the replay of these, right? So if I just click on one, I get the loading of the match, right? It acts just like it's loading from something else. And then, okay. And as it's loading here, you can basically, like I said, go in and you can essentially pick any character and any place. And so this is all the intro, right? So let's say I wanted to pick me. I could go to me. You can go to wherever you want in time, right? So like this one's me. And then there's different things like, let's see, so different events, right, that claim things. Moon Knight puts down an Ankh and then essentially attacks from there. And then I can jump to another person, right? So if I wanted to jump to Rocket, I can go to, let's see, what is it? Oh, I thought I could just jump to other people. Weird. I know I can. I'm just missing something. Yeah, see, there's all these different camera controls. So obviously you can move the camera around. You can pause things. So that's kind of cool. You can go to different POV. That's where it is. Okay, so F1. So yeah, I can switch between different characters here and watch all the different POV. So it's got a very robust system involved in it. It's something that I definitely would recommend that people try out. And honestly, you might find that you have as much fun as your kids. It's definitely, kind of a neat game. So I hope that kind of wraps up Marvel Rivals, tells you everything you need to know about it. I hope that's like kind of like the ultimate guide, shows you the gameplay, gives you the ideas on how to make it safer for your kids. And then, this is all our opinion. And so I showed you how to make it safer, helped you decide if it's safer for your kids, but it's up to you to ultimately decide if it is. No matter what, talk to your kids about this stuff, because it's not the kind of thing that you should just let them all play without really thinking about it. Even games like this one, that is probably fairly safe for a lot of people. If you don't think about the social aspects of it, then, you really aren't doing yourself any favors there. Okay, so let's see. I'm just making sure I don't miss anything else here real quick. All right. So the next thing we want to roll into is a little related to our last topic about Marvel Rivals, but the next topic we want to get into is digital boundaries. And like I said, this helps kind of piggyback off of Marvel Rivals. So a lot of the things I say here and a lot of things I said in the Marvel Rivals one will kind of overlap, right? But at the same time, I think it is important to think about digital boundaries, specifically for gaming, but also just for screen time in general, right? And this goes for your kids, but also kind of for you. Because remember, you're the example your kids learn from, and this is something I'm learning the hard way. This day and age, there's a lot of news and a lot of different things to look at on your phone, and I think that most of us are pretty guilty of just grabbing your phone and doom scrolling, essentially, wasting more time on there than than we should. And that's something that I think I used to do more and more wasting of screen time, more wasting of my time on screens, ever since my my tumor had to get removed, which once again, if you don't know about it, I don't want to get into too much, but there is a video on the page, very, very long video that gets into my story about what happened. But it does mean I struggle a lot. I have a lot of trouble looking at games, and honestly, I can't play games as well or as long. I can't look at my screens on my phone as long and stuff, and it's given me some perspective that even I need to make sure I'm like almost setting limits because I'll wear my eyes out. So I have limits on my Facebook daily and things like that, like an actual physical limit. Um, and so it's putting things like that in perspective. I've always played games a lot. I've always had too much screen time in my life. Ever since I met my current wife, I've had a lot less of that because I'm just enjoying life more. And even though games can be a lot of fun, I need less of that. And then ever since the tumor, I barely can play. I've been playing some Marvel Rivals and little things like that for half an hour here and there each day, a match or two, whenever I can. So what we're looking at with your digital boundaries though is, like I said, you want to establish these for you because you're the example, but then you want to establish them for your kids. It's going to be really hard for you to just, like, I can't just tell you what your boundaries are, right? You're going to need to make them with your kids, and you're going to need to find a happy balance, right? I think no balance, not thinking about it, no conversation is only going to get you so far. And then when you come down on them for something like get your homework done, they are probably going to resent you from taking away from the only thing they know, right? It's going to be weird things like that. Like, they should do their homework, I agree. But the more time on screens and the less time in the real world, the more that can essentially damage their psyche and everything. Not to mention, they're already going to be spending like a lot of their time inside working on screens for most jobs and stuff. I think I loved playing video games as a kid, watching TV as a kid. Then you get into adulthood and you're like, oh man, I'm on a computer for 8 hours a day too when I'm working in a job. Why do I want to go home and look at a screen too? And so, if you think about it, there's just so much time where all that light's blaring us in the face and everything like that. Um, so in today's digital age, yeah, really important. I came from, a generation where essentially computers were a new thing. We had a lot less use for them. We had the TV, but we didn't have streaming. So it was like you watched whatever was on. So we didn't watch as much TV and whatnot. Cartoons were on like Saturday mornings and everything. And so, feeling like an old dad for a minute, but it's definitely something that that you need to take seriously. And so I mentioned that you should probably establish screen-free times and zones and limit apps. Now, you can actually go on most of your phones and actually set up limits on the phones. But what I mean by limit times and screen-free times and zones is, it's not a bad idea to say like during this hour chunk or half an hour chunk of dinner time, we're just gonna have no screens, no phones, right? That's going to give you a better value of basically having family conversations, seeing how people's days are going. And it's also going to give you that limit away from the phone. It's so small, but that little window maybe is more than you're currently getting now. So just think about that half an hour and an hour every single night, 5 days a week, every day that adds up, or 7 days a week rather, not just school nights. And that's going to add up to quite a bit more time that you and your family get to spend together and get to know what's going on. You can discover more things about what's going on with their lives. You can ask them what kind of games they're playing, everything like that. So definitely something to keep in mind. And then what we also recommend is sometimes screen-free zones, right? So if we're going to go out and do something, yeah, we like to take pictures of everything, but there will be times where we'll just think, this is a good time to just have no phones. We kind of learned our lesson about leaving our phones at home. So we do still bring our phones with us, but we definitely try to limit it. And then in a restaurant, I don't know how you guys all are, but I think a lot of the time everyone will have their phones in their pocket, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, one person takes out their phone and then everyone else does, right? So trying to maybe say something like that as if we're in a restaurant, let's go ahead and make a deal to just no phones. Or if you want to get your stuff out of your phone real quick and do your texting, and then once we're like actually ordering, then no phones. I mean, you're eating out, right? If you wanted to pay to eat out just to eat out by yourself, why did you bring everyone else and all that? Like, you're out for a family dinner. You're not out to just hang out, eat some food, and look at your phone. You're not going to enjoy it that way, really. Let's think about it. And then let's see here. So my notes here. So, one big thing is encouraging people to do outdoor activities, reading, sports. Those are all going to help with limiting screen time without even having to limit screen time. You're giving alternate activities, things like puzzles, crafts, anything you can think of that isn't on the screen. It sounds kind of strange because, maybe our parents would have got mad for us playing too much, but going and playing with Legos or a puzzle at this point is going to be probably a lot healthier than doing stuff on your phone. There's going to be some arguments both ways because there are some healthy things you can do on your phone and some apps you can do. But the point is we're trying to eliminate screen time totally so that we're getting rid of the distraction and just that thing in our face all the time, so that we can enjoy the world around us more. Okay, what else do we have? Let's see. Okay, so another thing about screen time is, whenever you're hiding behind a screen, people aren't always who they would be in person, right? Maybe their true self comes out. I'm not 100% sure how that is, but I think people are very much more comfortable when they're online. So you're going to have a lot of kids who in person are going to be okay, but and sometimes they tease each other. Don't get me wrong, kids are not always nice to each other, but then the minute they get online, these guys become lunatics. Like, it's pretty crazy. And so this also will help kind of protect your kids a little bit more from cyberbullying. They won't be in there all the time trying to pick fights with other people. If they have, here's the sad truth: is if there's a kid who has almost no life, but coming home and playing video games all night, and is picked on at school already or something like that, he's probably become like a cyberbully. And you don't really want your kid to be a cyberbully. They're not cool people. They're mean. You probably know a cyberbully if you've been online playing any game. They come in and they just wreck everyone's day and ruin all the fun in playing games. Like, I've straight up gone from enjoying a game to just having to mute somebody because they were just so annoying. They weren't even necessarily bullying me, but sometimes the way they pick on everyone else and everything is just no fun. And so there's no reason to deal with that. Like, you're either paying for these games or maybe you're playing free. This is your time. Like, a cyberbully is not worth it. And so don't create another one. And then if there are some, talk to your kids about it. They may be hiding something from you that you don't even know about. There's a lot of times where they'll be getting bullied by somebody at school and they'll tell you. But then if they're getting bullied by somebody online, they might not because they're having, so many interactions or they're trying to enjoy this or that. So just keep that in mind. Set some rules, expectations, and in the end they could break those. So it's up to you to kind of make sure you're monitoring them, make sure that you're having open communication with them. One thing I like to do is, it's not that I try to eavesdrop, but our daughter's room is like right next to the stairs and they're so loud these days. So as I'm walking by, I'll stop for a second just to kind of like, if they're playing a game, just to kind of make sure that I don't hear anything horrible coming out of there. Or I'll knock and ask if I can come in, stuff like that. Now, I think it's really good to play games with your kids, do the things that they like to do online. Go to the rooms, go to the Roblox, go to the games. Now, a lot of the time they'll be like, no, I don't want to play with you. So I can understand that. The strategy I would say for an effective parenting strategy of that is go ahead and look for when they're really bored, when they're like, oh, I'm so bored, or I have nothing to do, or none of my friends are around. Go ahead and be their friend. Jump in, play a game with them. It's going to be valuable for both of you. It's going to create bonding time. You're going to learn about the game, and once they get kind of opened up and comfortable, they may not act exactly how they're going to act around your friends, but they're going to act a lot more like how they act around your friends. So you can kind of see how their personality is as well. All right. So that's just a good tidbit you know, about some of the different ways to just have a safer digital footprint, set some digital boundaries, good effective parenting strategies on it. We also have on our site a article about cyberbullying and everything. So definitely check out our site, pgttw.com or parentsguideoftheworld.com. We've got a lot of good articles on there. So I'm still working on it. Like I said, the site isn't perfect yet, but we've got some different blog articles, um, some different places we've been, and everything like that as well. Now, the next thing I wanted to go back into is, if you remember from the beginning of the podcast here, we had a trivia question to try to get you guys' brains all going. So the first trivia question for the first podcast here is, once again, let me just bury it. There it goes. All right. So the question was, what is the common household item that was originally designed for wallpaper? And where did it come from? What is it used for? And like I said, last second here, go ahead and throw your comments in, anything like that to guess it. And the answer is Post-it notes. I know that seems like a strange one, but if you knew, you knew. And what it was is Post-it notes were literally designed to try to be wallpaper. And they really didn't stick amazingly. They stuck, but not as well as they had hoped. But they found that it just like kind of worked for everything. And so somebody came up with the idea of, oh, wow, it's just this nice, easy adhesive that comes off. We could do this and put it on just one piece of paper and boom, Post-it notes. So sometimes the weirdest inventions, some of the most commonly used things, came from something totally different. It happens in the medical industry all the time. All right. And then the next thing I want to do is we're going to go ahead and jump into Cringe Corner. The way I like to start out Cringe Corner is I've got a little article we're going to go over about some of the new slangs from the Gen Z and what is it? Gen Alpha? Gen Sigma? What's the new one? Well, anyway, Gen Z and the younger Gen Zs, we'll just call it that. I know they're getting their own labels here pretty quick, but they've got their own slang now, a lot like we did when we were kids. But a couple of dad jokes here, cringy dad jokes. These are the ones to go ahead and ruin your kids' days and just make them call you cringe. All right, so why don't why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make everything up. Get it? Atoms make everything up. Yeah, okay. All right, and then what do you call a bear with no teeth? A gummy bear. Okay. Yeah, those are my cheesy dad jokes, but enjoy them. All right, the last segment we're going to have here is, like I said, we're going to go ahead and talk about some of the Gen slang here, like the younger kids here. So our daughter is 13, and they're constantly using this, not as much around us, but you can hear when they talk online and just in general. It's so goofy. I'm sure you guys have all heard it of your parents. And I'm putting together a big list on the site. I don't know why it's not up and running right now, but we haven't completely got that finished. Excuse me. But I wanted to kind of talk about this and what our effective parenting strategy to go ahead and deal with this kind of language is. It's not necessarily that it's all bad, but it's just kind of goofy. And if you want them using it, that's fine. But I like to make it cringy. That's what I like to do. So basically, let's think about this. We're starting to go ahead and look at a list, and each week we're going to go ahead and go through a couple different ones, and then I'm going to put them all in there. So you probably all already know a lot of these, but for instance, Riz is charisma, the ability to charm someone. Slay, to do something exceptionally well or to look amazing. Cringe, which is why we're calling this Cringe Corner, the feeling of secondhand embarrassment. Cap, a lie that's not true. No cap, being serious, telling the truth. And then bussin', something that tastes really good, usually food. All right, so these words can be pretty confusing for a lot of people, and essentially this is just a quick little tip. What we like to do is we like to use these phrases and make them as cringy as possible. So we like to just use an individual word or make a whole phrase and just make it so cringy to make it less cool. We're essentially using reverse psychology on the kids, right? Not only do they make fun of you, call you cringe, deep down they're laughing a little bit, but you keep saying it it's going to be less and less cool. Um, Especially for those older kids. This may not work for the really younger kids because they like to copy everything you say. But just a good example. So let's see here. So, dude, that pizza was totally bussin'. No cap. It had so much Riz, you wouldn't believe it. But then my friend ghosted me when I asked for the last slice. So cringe. So that's maybe taken to an extreme, but throw in cringe, throw in sus. Sus is almost over now. Throw in bussin', throw in slay and riz, cap, no cap. Get those out there. Get them into your regular communication, just to annoy your kids, and it will probably get them to stop using them, or they'll just make new ones. I didn't know what Skibbity Ohio was, but we'll go ahead and find out about that one next week, I guess. All right. So the goal, like I said, is to go ahead and use those against them essentially. Now, I'm going to try to do one of these every week, sometimes more than one. There are going to be times where I miss weeks. Today was a hard one because I wanted to do this earlier, but I don't have good days every day. Today started out as a good day and kind of slowly faded. We're a little later in the day today, and honestly, I'm starting to feel worn, but I made a plan to do this and show you guys a video and get this Marvel Rival ones done. I wanted to make sure I'm trying to stick to this commitment of once a week. And so I do apologize. I don't have an actual schedule right now. It is really hard for me to stick to a schedule. I don't know how I'm going to feel one day versus another. I don't know when in the middle of the day I might just essentially start feeling like I'm going to collapse. So I do appreciate you guys bearing with me and everything. And hopefully these just keep getting better and better from here. That's going to be a wrap today for our Parents Guide to the World podcast. This isn't officially podcast number 2, but we'll go ahead and call it podcast number 2 of the new live format here, and we'll call it podcast number 2 post Tumor here. Now, as always, I do hope that you guys will like and subscribe. Please put some comments in there, and like I said, we'll have this on the recording reposted here very quickly, and join us again for some more trivia, dad jokes, and other topics that we'll go ahead and be glad to talk about, as well as some effective parenting techniques and just ways to kind of bring your whole family together. Thank you guys again. Have a great rest of your evening, and thanks again. My name is Shay. Bye.